Because here's one of the things is that I always say buying a house is just as easy as buying a car.
I just tell them this, if you come to me and you say, oh, I don't know if, real estate is the right thing to do, just look at the stats. You said it initially, 90% of millionaires are created via real estate.
Right.
So if you're looking at that alone, then obviously this is a vehicle that should make you money every single month. And consider using Section 8, now you're getting guaranteed income.
Equipment, all in all, you're looking at about $10,000, $12,000.
Wow.
And you're generating $7,000 to $12,000 every single month.
That's after expenses.
Yeah.
You can't save your way out of poverty. If the bank is going to take your money invested in real estate, how come we not doing that? We got to focus on ownership. We have to own shit. I love investing in real estate. It's the one tangible asset class that has stood the test of time. Peace, what's going on, family? Will Roundtree here, and we are on the Full-Time CEO podcast, where we interview entrepreneurs, businessmen, businesswomen, moguls, entertainers, and everything in between. Look, this is not only for the culture, but this is for the world of business. And right now, I'm sitting here with two amazing entrepreneurs. Look, they've been blazing their respective industries. I'm truly excited. One, because we get to speak to someone who is in the real estate space, and y'all know how I feel about real estate. Look, this is where 90% of all millionaires are built, in the space of real estate. And then I'm also speaking with an individual who is in the smog industry. Look, this is the thing I love about business. The boring industries is where you make the money at. And so I'm sitting here with two amazing individuals. So I'm sitting here with Kareem and Arian, where we're going to talk about business, entrepreneurship. And of course, we're going to talk about some of the most difficult things when it comes to entrepreneurship. How y'all doing, fellas?
Doing great, man.
Good.
Definitely. First of all, welcome to Las Vegas.
Of course, man. Thanks for having
Where y'all coming in from?
We just came in from San Diego.
Okay. One of my favorite places. You into the beach? What you doing out in San Diego for fun?
Man, going to the beach, going hiking, going to the mountains, going up to LA sometimes, and it's, in proximity of pretty much everywhere.
Definitely.
It's a great location.
Definitely. Are you a beach person? Because I know a lot of people who live in San Diego, they don't go to the beach as much.
It's a blessing and a curse living close, right? You get so used to it.
Right.
You get used to the fun that you have all the time.
Definitely.
So it's definitely good to visit back, but there's a lot of good hiking trails over there
Right.
too. So it's not bad.
Okay. Ask me how often I go to the casinos.
That's I probably assumed.
I heard people from Vegas that actually live here don't go that often, right?
It depends. I always say it depends on your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I go to the Strip frequently because of the restaurants,
Okay.
or I'm hanging out, or it's always somebody in town.
Mm-hmm.
But to gamble, that's really not my thing.
Yeah.
I think business is enough gambling. Like, you never know sometimes what's on the other side of that. And so, Kareem, look, we're sitting here with you, man. I got a chance to kind of read a little bit about your story. You started out at 17 years old,
Right.
learning the back end of real estate on the Section 8 side.
That's correct.
How'd you get involved in that, first of all?
I used to work for the Section 8 housing
wow.
authority, when I was 17. So
Okay.
that's pretty much how I got into it initially. I learned all the ins and outs, and then from there, the rest is history.
So you got a chance to see the back end first, right?
I saw the back end. I saw how the paperwork was processed, how the inspections went through, pretty much all the intricacies within the program itself.
Right.
And then 6 months after I finished working for Section 8, closing my first deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So before we go into that, man, 17 working for the housing authority. Now, at 17, let me see, what was I doing? That was probably about almost 30 years ago, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
So don't do the math, fellas. So at 17, I just graduated high school. I'm looking to try to find out some direction in what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I wanted to go to college. I almost thought about going to the military. I originally, actually, I think my first job out of high school, I started working at Red Lobster.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. Y'all go to Red Lobster at all?
I've been there like once or twice.
Definitely. So you're working for the housing authority. What was it that intrigued you, though, to say, you know what? I think this is a space that I want to be able to capitalize in.
I would say the guaranteed income was probably one of the biggest things. Like I met a lot of the landlords within the program itself.
Okay.
And I just saw that, hey, you're getting a guaranteed check on the first of every single month. So
Right.
regardless of what happens with the economy itself, I'm still going to get paid. So
Right.
that was probably one of the biggest things. And your tenants stay for so long. So
Right.
on average, a Section 8 tenant will stay in a house for 7.5 years versus a normal tenant will stay in a house for right around 2 years. So that was another big thing that, obviously piqued my interest.
Right. You know what's interesting about that? So even myself, I'm a owner of real estate. I own commercial, residential, apartment buildings,
Okay.
multifamilies, etc. And that's one of the reasons I got into real estate myself. And often ask people this question every time I go and speak, and I'll ask you too this question: how many people need somewhere to live?
A lot. Everyone needs somewhere to live.
Everybody. That's why I got into real estate.
Yeah.
It's one of the industries that I don't have to convince somebody
Right.
to live in my property.
That's correct.
As long as it's livable, somebody will rent it out. Would you agree?
100%, especially with Section 8 specifically, just because so many landlords are afraid to get Section 8 tenants in. I have an advantage just because right when I list my property on the market,
Right.
I have tens of Section 8 tenants reaching out to me every single day.
Right. So you got into this niche of Section 8 rentals. You bought your first property how long? 6 months after?
6 months after I finished working for Section 8.
Wow. And how old were you at that time?
I was about to turn 18.
You're getting ready to turn 18. You buy your first Section 8 rental. How did you even know what to do? Because I meet people who are 47 who are like, I don't even know where to start.
I mean, to be honest with you, in terms of the Section 8 process,
Right.
obviously I understood that just because I worked for Section 8. In terms of actually understanding real estate, I didn't necessarily know what I was doing at the time. It's a lot of trial and error initially.
Definitely.
Okay. I kind of had to speak to different sellers. I went to real estate events, I would say probably every single week, just understood the game. But obviously, with time, as you meet more investors, as you close on more deals, as you make more mistakes, you're going to begin to understand.
Definitely.
It's just about getting into it initially.
Right. So you scaled your portfolio to over 100 properties. You've helped, thousands of students. With that being said, let's, just skip right to the chase in understanding Section 8 rental. There's a bad stigma
100%.
that comes with Section 8 rental. I mean, I buy in C and D class neighborhoods, which I'm assuming that's probably where some of your properties are at, correct?
Yeah.
So what is it that still attracted you to that? Because most people are chasing the equity. See, me, I chase cash flow, and I'm assuming that's why you got into the Section 8 rental side. So what would be a misconception that most people have on the reason of why they want to stay away from Section 8 rental, but it drew you to it?
When people think of Section 8, what do they think of? They think of, those large, I guess you could say, commercial buildings in New York where they're stacked in the projects or something along those lines. But they don't know that a Section 8 tenant can simply be your neighbor.
Definitely.
You never know. It's not necessarily an area that makes a Section 8. It's a specific property, right? So any property that passes Section 8 inspection could be a Section 8 rental.
Right.
And for me, as long as I'm thoroughly screening my tenants, it doesn't necessarily matter.
See, that's the key. I think a lot of the times people think in real estate, or let's just take the Section 8 space, because the state is going to pay me, I don't have to do anything. See, you still, the thing that I like that you said that stood out is you're still screening the tenants.
100%.
What are the things that you look for, even from a Section 8 side, even though the state is guaranteeing your money? How do you put that added layer of protection there for recourse to protect yourself in the investment, which is the property?
So, I mean, obviously, we're going to look at any prior evictions. So if they have any evictions, obviously, we're not going to work with them directly.
At all?
We're not going to work.
Okay. Okay.
Just because we don't want history to repeat itself.
Definitely.
Per se. We're going to look at their current employment. Do they have a job? Do they have money to cover that specific amount that they have to pay me every single month, which could be 10 to 30% of the rent? And obviously, we're going to go ahead and ask for photos and videos of their current residence. Okay? Because if their residence right now
you want to see how they live
looks like garbage, then obviously that's what we're going to expect in our property currently.
Hey, that's a smart move. Daniel, I'm still in that one. Look, I need you to send me a picture of how you living right now.
Yeah.
That's a damn good one, actually.
If they're trashing their property, I mean, you're going to expect the same thing in your house.
Definitely. You know what you should probably throw in there? I want to see how your car looks, too.
Oh, our process.
No, the inside of the car. The inside, because people. Look, I remember one time I was volunteering at this school to help. They were doing some fundraiser, and the principal asked me to help carry some things from the car to the building. I thought it was a dead body in there. It smelled that bad. So I could only imagine what that house was like.
Yeah.
So needless to say, she probably would not have been a tenant of yours then, huh?
No, definitely not. I mean, we don't work with people that trash their properties. I just don't want it to happen to me, and then I have to pay $10,000 whenever
Right.
we get them out, and it's just not worth it.
Right.
I'd rather just move on to the next tenant.
So then, how do you deal with the eviction process? Because I know that's where a lot of the times we incur the bulk of our expense
Correct.
trying to get someone out. So, do you hire an attorney? Do you have some type of legal aid on retainer, or how do you
Of
handle
course, we
that?
work with attorneys, obviously,
Okay.
depending on the scenario, but we're not buying in states like California. Right? At the end of the day, if you buy in California,
Stay away from the tenant-friendly
that's
states.
correct.
That's
Tenant-friendly
what I
states
tell.
are not going to be on the radar for me,
Right.
right? I'm trying to avoid those as much as possible. Something like California, I mean, you're going to wait 6 months just to get a tenant out. I
Right.
focus on locations like Louisiana, Ohio.
Right.
3 to 5 day eviction process. We can get a tenant out within a couple weeks
Right.
max.
So what would be, and me personally, I love the Midwest
Yeah.
because a lot of the Midwest are landlord friendly. But if you had to give, 3 to 5 areas or cities, if you even want to drill it down to the city,
Yeah.
what would be 3 to 5 areas that you would
In
recommend
terms of
to the
areas,
viewers?
obviously Midwest and Southeast. Okay, those are going to be your top two. But in terms of specific cities, you could look at Cleveland, Ohio,
Okay.
Akron, Ohio, Jackson, Mississippi, St. Louis, Missouri, Birmingham, Alabama. Those are all really good ones where you could find turnkey properties sub $100,000.
Right.
Ready to go. You could rent them for at least $1,200 a month.
Right. And what's so interesting, Kareem, that's actually why my strategy when I'm working with my community, I say, look, I do I make my investment based off of math. I know for every $100,000, my mortgage is going to be about $700, give or take,
Correct.
depending on the interest rate. On a 30-year DSCR loan, 8 to 9% interest rate, and I know that I know for a fact, just like you confirmed, rent is $1,200 to $1,500
Correct.
easily. So the deal will always cash flow.
Correct.
Is that how simplistic you make it?
We
to
aim
your
to put anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 down per property and
Okay.
cash flow right around $500 to $800 a month.
Wow.
Okay, so that's our goal after all of our expenses, $500 to $800 a month.
Wow. So give me a breakdown of like what is it that you're looking for? What's your like buying criteria? I see that you're able to find investment properties anywhere between 5,000 to 12,000, and you're helping your students in your community, you know, utilize these exact same strategies. So if you had to do a quick 3 to 5 steps, what are those things that you show people that are your buying criteria that you show?
So if you wanted to buy a property, if you wanted to buy a Section 8 rental right now and you had $10,000, you can go to Realtor.com. You could put sub $100,000, 3 bedrooms plus, not larger than 1,500 square feet, not older than 1950, and you could find something completely turnkey. Okay, you could put 15 or 20% down with a
Wow.
DSCR loan, and you could net $500 to $800 a month after all your expenses while renting it to a Section 8 tenant and getting guaranteed income.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now with the DSCR loan, I know some of the lenders will not do under 100 grand. Do you have a way to work around that?
It'll depend. I mean, if you're working with a big firm like Kiavi, for example, they're not gonna want to do sub $100,000.
Right.
I have my own private lenders that I built relationships with. One of them's actually here,
Okay.
and they'll go down to $67,000
Really?
purchase price. And if you're buying a portfolio, they'll go down to $50,000.
Okay. But the portfolio has to be at least 100, right?
The portfolio does not necessarily have to be at least 100.
Really? Okay. So with the sub 100,000, does the interest rate increase? Does it get a little bit more expensive on the
I
money?
mean, rates right now are probably going to be right around 7.5 to 8.
Okay.
So they're not that high. And keep this in mind: sub $100,000, even if it's a 7 or 8% interest rate or a 9% interest rate, your payment is maybe going to fluctuate 20, 30, $50.
Right. Not much of a
max.
difference.
Even if it was a 3 versus a 7, the payment difference is $100, $150.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not super substantial.
Right. So then where are you helping the people? Because it may be someone, obviously we're in economic times where $5,000 may be a stress for someone. So how are you helping them to come up with a down payment? Are you showing them creative financing strategies?
Creative financing is a big one. Obviously, if you're trying to get into real estate straight off the bat and you have $0 and you have zero credit, it's going to be hard to work.
Right.
If you do have credit above a 620, obviously you can get business funding. You can get a business line of credit. You can liquidate a credit card and you can utilize that to be able to scale. Okay? So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can get into this. But yeah, creative financing is a big one. You could use a conventional loan. You could do a DSCR loan. There's a bunch of different routes to go about it.
Okay. And then the scale from there. I've gotten my first property. I've used some creative financing. So then how do I scale that? Does it start from the mindset? Because here's one of the things, and then I'll pass this to you, is that I always say buying a house is just as easy as buying a car. I think that people get, kind of in a stage of fear because it's a house or the numbers are larger. So how do you walk them through getting off that step of fear, whether it's getting their first property or sometimes after they get their first one, they're either fearful or in celebratory mode so long they don't get to that second one, but they may come to you for advice and say, "Hey, Kareem, I'm stuck mentally." How do you walk them through that process?
To be honest with you, I just tell them this. If you come to me and you say, "Oh, I don't know if real estate is the right thing to do," just look at the stats. You said it initially. 90% of millionaires are created via real estate.
Right.
Okay, so if you're looking at that alone, then obviously this is a vehicle that should make you money every single month. And consider you're using Section 8. Now you're getting guaranteed income.
Definitely.
Okay? So, for Section 8 specifically, I don't think there's going to be a safer business model, in my opinion.
Absolutely. But then, but with the Section 8 too, also are the parameters or the stipulations of the regulatory things that the house has to be in certain conditions. Do you have certain contractors that know what those conditions need to be?
Our property managers know exactly what needs to be done on a property.
Okay.
We get an inspection beforehand.
Correct.
Okay, to ensure that the furnace is not messed up. We don't have a bunch of broken windows, broken sheetrock, whatever the case may be within the specific property. We make sure that it's completely turnkey, ready to go.
Right.
That way, when we close, we can get straight into action, list the property, and just get a Section 8 tenant moving.
See, and pretty much, man, you're confirming everything that I really am saying to my community, and I'm asking you a lot of these questions because I want people to hear it from other than myself.
Yeah,
I want them to hear from someone who's had an amazing amount of success, and not only in real estate but in the Section 8 space, because I often tell people that is a niche industry, only niche because so many people are scared of it.
A lot of people.
And I tell people, look, the money in real estate is really in the inner city, if we want to be honest. And here's why. And this is just my theory. This may not necessarily be yours, Kareem. Here's my theory. In a lot of these areas where you're at, the Clevelands, the Akrons, the Milwaukees, wherever, in these C and D neighborhoods, typically downtown are near these pockets. Would you agree? The downtown area.
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay. Now, in a lot of these cities, where's most of the gentrification happening?
It'll depend. A lot of the times in the suburbs, I would say.
Okay. So I'm going to challenge you on that a little bit. When I say the gentrification, meaning where are they dumping the money at now?
It'll depend on the city. I mean, for me, for example, I'm from New Orleans.
Okay.
Right? So I can speak on New Orleans real quick. In the city itself, there's specific pockets where money is being dumped.
Right.
Okay? But if you look at some of the suburbs, they're more expensive sometimes in the city itself. Okay? Just because a lot of money's moving out from the city, because generally that's where you see a lot of the higher crime.
Right.
And they're moving into the suburbs where potentially is lower crime.
Right. Yeah, no, so they're definitely doing that. So I'll give you one of my observations.
Okay.
So in these C and D class neighborhoods, the city is pumping more money now in the downtown area. When you go to a lot of these cities, the downtowners there because what's there? Usually the financial district for a lot of, banks, insurance companies, a lot of these corporations are moving downtown. And then, of course, the people who work at these places, they don't want to have to live 30, 45 minutes away. So they're kicking people from the, inner city and starting to bus them to the suburbs. Mm-hmm. And now they're revitalizing those areas. And so that's just my own, I guess, little conspiracy theory. I would say it depends
on the city, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, something like New Orleans, for example, it may be the opposite. But maybe something like, obviously, like Vegas. Obviously, the inner city is going to be super expensive.
Definitely.
Versus the suburbs are going to be a bit cheaper.
Yeah, so it definitely does go city by city, and I think it is based upon the landscape. Mm-hmm. New Orleans is a bit unique, which here's an interesting fact I actually just learned about New Orleans. They have 5 major events that take place there per year.
Correct.
It's very few cities that can hold 5 major events.
Because their source of income is tourism in New Orleans.
Yeah.
That's where, they generate all the money. That's why they do the Super Bowl so often in that specific city, just because they need people to go there.
Right. Yeah, no, I love New Orleans. I was supposed to be there for Super Bowl, but clearly I want to be in Vegas so I can hang
wanted to
with
go
you
there
guys.
too, man. I was
you know.
thinking about the Super Bowl in Vegas too. I was
Devin, who
like,
you got for the game, man?
probably the Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs might take it again.
So you can't go against Patty Holmes, huh?
They're pretty aggressive. I mean, I think they're confident. I mean, they've been doing it 2 years in a row. At this point, they might make it 3.
But you can't bet on Saquon Barkley, though. You can't bet against him, I mean. Can't bet against
I've
him.
always been a Saints fan, but they've been choking the past couple of years.
Yeah. Y'all took Derek Carr from the Raiders.
Yeah,
How did that go?
It was a mistake.
Hey, I think it was a mistake when he came to the Raiders, too. Okay. So, all right, man. So definitely appreciate that, man. We're going to come back to you, but I want to talk to your friend who you brought. Man, you just brought a room full of millionaires, man. Like, I feel richer after they walked in. Daniel, hey, did you feel that when they walked in? I felt like, I don't know, it just smelled like money or something. I don't know.
Aura.
The aura increased. My net worth just went up. What they say, hang around 4 millionaires, you're bound to be the 5th. Look, call us the Temptations, baby. Okay, so I'm sitting here with your good friend who is in the smog business. That is an industry you don't hear a lot of people talking about.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty surprising to me because everyone in California has to get it. And I'm the only person on social media talking about it right now.
Wow.
I don't know why,
Wow.
but it's definitely helped me out. It put me through college, which I don't know if anyone's watching, but don't go to college, in my opinion. And I started that business when I was in college.
Right.
And I just scaled it up from there.
So you started when you was in college. What was that, like a year ago? You like 18, 19 years old?
I started almost 6 years ago.
Okay.
This business. Yeah, I started right after I graduated high school. I had a pretty rough upbringing. I got arrested, and then I went to community college, and my life was kind of going down pretty fast.
Definitely.
And then started my first smog shop after I had to get a smog myself. Realized the business model and kind of just scaled from there.
Right. You know what's interesting? I'm actually starting to see a lot more businesses selling their smog shops on what's the name of the website? Biz by Sell. I'm starting to see those a lot. Why are they starting to sell?
So that's actually a great observation that you found there, because a lot of people that are trying to get into this business, they say it's always boomers running these so-called boring businesses, but that's the best time to buy it because they're not utilizing that business to its fullest potential, and they're not maxing the revenue as much as they could.
Definitely.
So that's when we come in and we take over an existing shop and we provide the same service, but we just change our marketing strategies and some of our customer flows, I should say, and then we just 3x the revenue, 4x the revenue of that same business.
So as you two were sitting here, something dawned on me. I was like, you want to know why I feel, outside of you two just being extremely brilliant individuals, why you're so successful? Because you're participating in something that everybody has to do. Yeah. See, anytime I look at a business model, that's what I do. That's why I got into real estate. Everybody has to live somewhere. Right. Even the homeless person wants to live somewhere. And if they have the right subsidy or get into the right program, somebody will subsidize his living. Somebody will pay him. Smog. I just had to recently get another smog. You cannot get around getting your vehicle smog. And so, speaking of college, I actually read an article, and I pulled this information directly from the Department of Education. And you may or may not know this info, but I want to share it with you as well as with the audience. They said the average lifetime earnings for a person with a bachelor's degree. I dropped out of college, so I don't even know what's first, master's, whatever. Yeah. But the average lifetime earnings for someone, that means after they got a bachelor's degree, over the course of 40 years, they've made $1.6 million.
Wouldn't doubt it, yeah.
And you guys are doing that probably a month.
Yeah.
And not quite.
Not yet.
We're gonna speak it into existence. Few more months. Hey, but you're doing it in a year at least. Yeah. But here's why I say that. Somebody who went to college, their lifetime earnings is $1.6 million. Yeah. Think about that. It blew me away. Right. And that's when I knew I was in the right path because entrepreneurship is one of the ways that you can have an unlimited amount of revenue being generated passively. You're not the one putting the roofs on the houses. You're not. I'm sure you're not the one slinging. Doing the smogs. I see the watch. You're not doing smogs.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest
thing,
the biggest thing is delegation within
that's
business.
The point
Delegate
I'm making.
to elevate. That's the only
the
way
point
to
I'm
do
making.
it. You know, for me, like, I'm not the smartest person ever, right? I'm not the best marketer. I probably am not, I'm not the best with computers, whatever the case may be, but I know how to find the best talent.
Right.
Like, I knew how to find the best property manager. I knew how to find the best wholesalers to give me the deals on the table. So if you know how to delegate and you know how to assign roles to people that have talent, that's how you could essentially escalate your business.
You know what? I agree. And I'm going to challenge you on the word smart, because Daniel will tell you I always talk about people always saying they're smart because they do know computers or they can tell you the periodic table. The definition of smart is to be quick-witted with intelligence. When you break down the word intelligence, intel, that's data. You know how to find data.
Right.
So you are smart. Both of you two are smart. And then, I just said this the other day, you can't grow in business unless you know how to use automation and delegation.
Correct.
And that's what both of you have mastered, automation and delegation. So in the smog industry, how does one even get started? Because the first thing that I would think about is like, man, I got to deal with the city and like it's so much regulatory laws. At least I would think so. Yeah. So how does one get started? What does like an all-in startup cost look like if they were to start from scratch?
Yeah, so a lot of people get intimidated with just business in general, right?
Agreed.
Because they assume there's so many moving parts. So the reason why the smog business is extremely different than everyone else, or every other business, I should say, brick and mortar, is that you're only dealing with one employee. So I only have one person clocking in every day to perform the smog checks for the customers. And I only have one small garage, right? You guys here in Nevada, you guys have smog checks, but for us, it's a little bit different. It's almost like a house garage.
Really?
Right? Yeah, but on the side of gas stations. And one person clocks in and one person performs a smog. So it's not like a restaurant where I have inventory sitting there.
Right.
I'm selling a service. And the licensing, it's only really 3 licenses. You have the 2 state licenses and 1 city one.
Okay.
Then that's how you just get the ball rolling. In terms of startup costs, we were talking actually prior to getting on camera, the startup costs, I typically tell students to start from scratch. So utilize the locations that aren't getting used, right? Like, you just have to have an eye for it. And I say, everything that I say in my videos is what I do myself. And a lot of these landlords are not taking advantage of these locations that they're sitting on. So you go in and you secure a 5, 10, 15-year lease, and the equipment, all in all, you're looking at about $10,000, $12,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you're generating, $7,000 to $12,000 every single month.
Wow. So for
netting.
less, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're netting $7,000 to $12,000.
Oh, that's after expenses.
Yeah.
Wow. So what someone is about to go and place a bet on Sunday's game, they could start a small business and buy a Section 8 rental.
That's how it is. You just gotta preserve your wealth through, vessels like real estate and kind of expand from there.
So so instead of y'all going to make that parlay that you're probably not going to hit, I need you to go get a Section 8 property and start a small business. Hell, do both. It's passive. It's like you'll probably come out more ahead than banking on Saquon Barkley getting 3 touchdowns, which he probably will do. So that, I don't know, that might be a good bet. But I'm still going to invest in Section 8 rentals and smog. So both of you guys have communities. How can people find you? Because I'm a huge advocate again for entrepreneurship. I tell everybody, if I had to walk this journey again and start all over from scratch, I would choose entrepreneurship 10 out of 10 times. I think not only the lessons you get by going through being an entrepreneur, like you say, the trial and error of learning about how to buy the property, how to deal with the city and different things of that nature. It teaches you a level of resilience that you need in regular life.
Right.
It teaches you how to become a hunter. It teaches you how to be efficient, just as, someone who wants to be successful and live the life that we all at one point dreamed about. So how can they find both of you online, your communities, and are there any offers that you want to, give people access to for them to join?
Yeah, of course. So if you want to get started with Section 8 and you have $5,000 to $10,000, you want to go into your first rental property, you can go to section8training.com. We essentially walk you through the entire process, all the way from choosing a location, picking the properties out for you, getting you set up with property managers, Section 8 tenants, pretty much everything from 0 to 100, handheld.
Definitely. Okay. And then what about if they want to get in the smog
if
industry?
If you guys are interested in learning more about the smog industry, shoot me a follow on Instagram at @the_smog king. And then just try to book a one-on-one call with us, completely free. And, for your viewers, we'll try to work with you guys a lot more. So
definitely.
@the_smog king.
Man, y'all heard it. Look, I'm sitting here with two of the most successful people to come here in Las Vegas. And I don't know how old they both look like they like 19. So to be able to do this at 19, I know y'all really older than 19, but to do this at what they're doing, I love it. I love when I see, entrepreneurs who are not only out here doing it, but you actually are doing it, because it's a big difference. It's one thing to just say, hey, let me show you how, but then it's another thing to say, hey, I'm doing it and let me show you how. So definitely congrats and salute to the both of you. Any last words, and what's one piece of advice for someone who is like, you know what, I would love to, but I'm just scared. What's one piece of advice or just a viewpoint? Because I don't really like the word advice, but what's a viewpoint both of you can leave the people with?
Saving money will never make you rich.
We ain't got to say shit else after that. Because I say the same thing. I tell people, man, look, I say, I will make more money off of your money in the bank than you. Because for every dollar that you're saving, the bank is going to give you interest on 90 cents of it, and they're going to give me the 90 cents, and I'm going to go out there and make more money off of your money than you do in the bank.
That's true.
It'll never make you rich.
Yeah. Damn. This must be my brother, because we done said a lot of the things that we both echo. Man, I appreciate y'all fellas, man. Thank you. Make sure y'all go follow them. What's the socials? How can they follow y'all on social media?
You can follow me at Section 8 Kareem, Karim, on Instagram.
All right.
Yeah. And then at @the_smog king.
Okay. Y'all heard it first. Look, Full-Time CEO podcast where we interview entrepreneurs, businessmen, businesswomen, and people in the culture who are doing it, who are really doing it, but then they're also taking action and showing you through the action that they're taking. So if y'all are trying to get to that next level, you're trying to level up and do all of these things that you've been putting on your dream board for the past 10 years, I need y'all to tap in with my two guys. And more importantly, y'all already know the drill. I'll see y'all at the top. Let's go. You can't save your way out of poverty. If the bank is going to take your money invested in real estate, how come we not doing that? We got to focus on ownership. We have to own shit. I love investing in real estate. It's the one tangible asset class that has stood the test of time.